Hello, 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 and welcome to Candid Conversation with Coach Stacy. And I have an amazing guest in the studio today. And we've partnered with AIB, so that we could get some of their authors in here and promote their books and see the all up and coming authors that are around. But we decided to do that with Candid Conversations because some of their books are just so in depth and so touching. I couldn't help but to bring them on in. So today we have Mr. Paul Posey. I have his let me read his bio a little bit. He's a dad, a husband, a Marine, a mentor, and he is a great friend. He is a friend. He says he's added many layers to his life, which has left him with a new understanding of life and how we live it. And he wants to share it with you guys. His life, he's also started a mentoring program here in the Atlanta metro area, and he is the director of Negative to Positive Incorporation. So we're going to go ahead and just jump right in today and get started while I interview Mr. Paul Posey and we talk about his books and the things that he has going on in life and AIB and all of those great things. But how are you today, Mr. Posey?
I am doing outstanding today. That's my word, outstanding.
Outstanding.
That's
Absolutely
right.
Outstanding.
That's right. We just can't be fine. We have to be outstanding.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Now let's look. I'm single.
You're single? Oh, and he's single, ladies. He's single.
Yes, I've been a husband. But
Okay.
I'm single, yes.
Okay. He's single now.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. 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 Well, the first thing I wanted to start with, which a lot of you viewers already know what Candid Conversation is all about. We have the conversations that no one wants to talk about. But what I found interesting when I was doing my research on Mr. Posey is that he has this book, I Am My Own Dad. It's a bonus book, 3-in-1, Unloved, and When You Wake Up. And what I find candid about this is that we're in the age where a lot of dads aren't stepping up.
Absolutely. It's not the fact that they're not stepping up; they don't know. And you can't.
That's profound.
If you want them to step up, they have to know that they're the missing pieces to this thing we call family. If when you start talking to people, they start taking about the history and how we got here, what happened in the 70s, what happened with welfare and how they had divided the homes. They said these men could not be in the homes if we're going to support you through the programs. That was part of how we got here. We can't change history, so we need to generate our new history, and we need to understand that they are the missing pieces, and we need them back.
Yes.
And they don't know that because a lot of men are out there in their own storms of how they got there.
That's right.
Either being divided from their fathers or even not connected with their mothers. And these are the men that are making children, which are making this issue we have right here of lack of unity in family.
How do you address that in your book? Without telling the book.
Without telling the book, I give some insight of what I learned because I am no different than any man that's out there that I'm speaking of, that's in the shelters or coming through the VA or coming through out of the prisons. I'm no different because I was following the same patterns that were laid out for me. When you don't know what a husband is, and you don't know what a dad is, we have to create that from scratch.
That's right.
I like to say we've been winging it, and that's why we get it wrong. But when you look at the people before me, what they did, and people always say they did the best with what they had. Well, that's not our case because we can Google help, we can look for each other, we can read books.
There's
we can
all
see
kinds of
history.
things out
There's
there.
so many things that we're
Yeah.
not allowed to use that ignorance that they had. We're not allowed to use that. So in writing the book, how to get them to go back is to realize what you were missing, what you said you wanted, what you wished you had, what you cried about.
Right.
We want to make sure our children don't cry about that. And the only way we're going to do that if we do some self-reflection
That's right.
into exactly who we are and how we got here so we can see. Now, when I say how we got here, in our family. So how we got here in our family is the dynamics of our family and how that turned out and how it made us feel. And then we need to learn what was missing and how to get that in us to give it to them.
Right.
Our children are waiting for us to educate them
Yes,
on family.
they sure are.
They're not waiting on reality shows.
Nope.
They're not waiting on Jordans. They're waiting on the people who brought them here to educate us on what love is and what unity is.
I agree 100%. 100%. And so that's how you address this in the book. I want to just look over here this real quick. It says we can grow beyond emotional neglect, chaos, pain, and anger to peace with help from absent dads.
Absolutely. They, like when I go out and talk to the men in the homeless shelter, if they would go back and make phone calls, if they would go back and get those candid conversations with their kids, and their responses that come from it, because as adults, we are still hurt, and those kids are hurt, and everybody knows hurt, but we don't address it. Right. So when I look at our society today, we are addressing everything else but that. We're not putting our finger on this is the problem. The problem is family unity is not there, which that means community unity is not there, which means our cities are not there. That means our culture is not there. And there's no other place to look blame for, because if we were in charge of this mess, the U.S., and this was our house, what would you do? How would you fix your house? If you and I were mom and dad, kids watching us fighting all the time, we need to get our act together.
That's right, first.
Right. And then they would model
fall in line.
What we see.
That's right.
And they see the breaking, the tear down, and the repair. They don't know repair. We don't know repair. Right. We know a lot of things. Even when they tell us to buy black. Why don't we buy black? Look at what the stories go right behind it. Customer service is not the same.
That's right.
We don't even trust each other in our houses. How are we going to trust each other in the banks? I hear what they say all the time. But if we don't get that unity within us, we can't go in any direction. That's why we haven't gone in any direction. And that's what we're looking at right now. We can do this. I believe we can do it.
What prompted you actually to write this particular book, I Am My Own Dad?
I ran into a wall in my life where I was almost a hermit. PTSD, not realizing I had PTSD, not realizing that I was blocking everybody who loved me out of my life. I had to seek help. And that's another thing we don't do is we don't seek help.
We don't seek help. We
try to doctor ourselves.
Pride. Condition.
Shame.
Pride.
Pain.
Pain.
All those things. And I always say that's an invisible wall you can walk through. And at some point, we need to walk through that for our tomorrow.
Right.
So my therapist says, she asked me, she says, so what do you do when you get riled up? You get in your spiral. That's what we call it. I says, I write down everything I can to see where it went wrong and see if I was a problem. Blah, 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 blah. Before you know it, I've written 8 pages of log, like in the military, logged everything down to see where things went wrong. And then she says, you might want to try writing. So she said, come back next week with 3 titles. And when you're going to leave that job that's making you feel so bad. I came back the next week and half that book was written.
Wow.
In a week.
1 week.
1 week. 1 week, half that book was written. From the time that book came out to, I want to say, April 30th, I've written 11 books. And they all have a message about how we can fix this. See, one of our true problems is relationships.
Yes, number 1.
Right. When we pick the wrong person, we are heading ourselves right into single parentship. Because if I don't know you and we have a child, we're not going to be together, because in our relationship, it becomes a realizationship that me and you are not friends. Me and you were temporary lovers, and we made a child. Now we are not parents. And I want to thank my ex-wife that she said something to me. She says, we may be dysfunctional, but we're not going to have dysfunctional kids. And that means no matter what, we still cater to their growth. And I think we did an outstanding job and I'm happy that she made a statement. So she said that, and we can live that because I was on board with that statement. What we should have said was, we're not going to be dysfunctional, but we didn't say that. We said, our tomorrow, our kids are not going to be dysfunctional, and we stuck to it.
Right.
You know, and it proves a point too that no matter what, our seeds are that important.
That's right.
So when you go down to the shelters and you talk to the men and you ask them, how come you weren't, you know, with your kids, and they'll make the statement, well, I grew up without a dad. That's not an excuse.
No, it's not.
That's not an excuse. We keep looking for ways out to not be responsible. We have to be culturally responsible. But that's too big of a word for most people because I don't want to be responsible for everybody else. Then how about you be responsible for the seed that you made?
That's right.
We should not be making kids if we're not going to try to make them greater than us.
That's right.
That's it.
That's point blank period.
Yeah,
you couldn't say it no better.
We could drop the mic.
That's right.
That statement says because the idea they must be greater than us. Then we have to give them what we didn't have.
That's right.
And it's not
That's
the fancy stuff. We can't keep giving them adult responsibilities. Adult privileges without adult responsibilities.
That's right.
Because those two things don't go together. Then you have a spoiled child, and then the universe and everybody else takes care of that child.
More and more issues.
Absolutely. So those missing pieces come into play is what dad brings to the table, what mom brings to the table, family. What family does for you. Family protects you, it educates you, and it gives you unconditional love. And you throw in, it should be telling you your history and the traditions. Because when that goes away, you got nothing.
That's
you just got people running around trying to figure out who they are, what they want to be. But at some point, I had to become my own dad. And that meant whatever I wanted my dad, I don't know if you saw that in the book, I didn't meet him until 27. What I wanted
you had to
in
become.
him, I had to become. And I always tell this story how my son was talking to me, little Paul, well, he's bigger than me. Little Paul said, he told me during Father's Day dinner, we were eating together, and he says, you know what, Dad, I'm just like you. I am smart like you, I'm a problem solver like you, I'm a leader. And I says, well, you know what, Paul, those are things I wanted you to have.
Right.
I modeled those things for you, and that's how you have them. And then I asked him how it feels. He says, that's the greatest feeling in the world, Dad. It's awesome feeling. And I says, I'll never know that feeling. I'll never know that feeling. But I'm glad. I'm glad to give it up so he can have that feeling. Because it's those feelings that make them great.
That's right.
And the conversations they ask us on the factors and the data we use to make those decisions, which ultimately ruins a family, you've got to answer those questions. Because if you don't want them to make those same mistakes, it's that information of why you did what you did. And I think I posted something on Facebook the other day. If we were living on facts, we'd have this together. But all our decisions are made on emotions. And those emotional decisions are where we are today. And at some point, we're going to have to change that. We're going to change it. If we can change it for like the next 20 years to just get this on track, is to start thinking before we're feeling. And that's where that book goes into play is if we can think about putting ourselves together before we get with other people, we'd have a better chance of having better relationships.
That's right.
And better relationships will allow to have better kids. And better kids will make better adults. And better adults will make better kids.
That's right.
And we have that different cycle, a new cycle. But when we talk about we don't believe it can happen, we don't believe we can get that here in the U.S., I don't think we even tried it.
I agree.
We didn't even try it. If we can just come together with the idea of this is what we're going to try to do and make a Martin Luther King in every house. We don't need one to rise up. We need one in every house. That could be at least 10 in a community.
Right.
And then we get 10 in the community, we can change anything around we want to.
I really believe that. I really believe that. For those of you just joining, I have Paul Posey right here in the studio with me, and we are talking about his books. He is an amazing author, and we were talking about his book, I Am My Own Dad. Now I want to jump into Be Undumpable.
What? Yes.
It starts with you.
It starts with you. You want to jump right into that?
Yeah, tell me a little bit about this book. I'm going to come back to I Am My Own Dad because that was touching me as you were going over it. But Be Undumpable seems like something I might be needing to read by myself. Tell us about Be Undumpable.
Being undumpable. First of all, like I said in the beginning of the book, that's not a real word, but I just coined a phrase.
You created it.
That's right. Well, being undumpable means putting yourself together before you even think about being in a relationship. Because what happens if you're not in a relationship? You're single and by yourself, right?
That's right.
Those bills still have to be paid. That career must be in order. Your connection with your family must be in order. All those things must be in order, even if you don't find anybody. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. We are our half and our destiny of who we're going to be and how we're going to take care of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And then we connect with somebody else who's just as half. And you don't know their chaos. You don't know their flags.
Yep.
You don't know their background.
Yep.
And then you decide to be with them. Yep. And you say, I can make it work.
He preaching, ain't
he? Or you say that love will make it work. Mm-hmm. People keep saying love will make it work. But first, you have to be in a committed relationship in order for that love to really take effect.
Right.
You can't say, I met somebody and I went out with somebody and I loved them, so I'm just going to make it work with them. That's too many variables that it can go wrong. So there's no perfect science to being in a relationship, but that preparation to get your life together before you even think about being somebody can make a world of difference. Because being undumpable means that you can see people coming at you. You can see because you prepared. You can see the missing holes. Women who are picking men. Right.
This is good. Good.
Women who are picking men who aren't ready, they're running into something like, he's only going to be there for so long. He's only going to be there as long as it's good, you know. And then he's probably living, there's a good chance he's living with somebody else, living with his mom. He's in between jobs and things like that. Those are the things that are frustrating us. And then you become a parent on top of that from him, and then you have another mess and goes into the cycle. Now, on the flip side, men choosing women who don't have their stuff together, pick up a burden, become a sponsor, get used. So everybody's using everybody.
Yep.
And then you know, people say, well, sometimes you just got to pick which one you want to deal with.
No.
But the idea is, as adults read this book, you can go back and talk to your kids about flags and whistles. You can go talk to your spouse about your relationship IQ. I talk about that in the book. I talk about sex in the book, why we have sex. See, some people think, here's what I'm learning, because I host a singles group. We have different views of relationship and dating when they start. So we all just all over the board. If we had something that will just take us to the idea of the basics that says, you know, the terminology we use when we're searching for somebody, and what is a date, and what is a relationship.
Right.
When does it go from dating to relationship? Your relationship IQ is something that's made of every relationship you've been in. Every relationship you've been in. So to me, there's three types of people. There's single husband, and single wife. Three types.
Okay.
You want me to talk about them? Single.
I'm waiting to hear.
Right. The single is somebody who's never been responsible at a level of having a permanent partner. It's all about them. It's all about them getting themselves together. It's all about them being satisfied. It's not about the maximum consideration you give to somebody else.
What about that one person that has, and they, you know, they're
everything
done. They have been in that relationship. They have been in a committed, and they're tired.
Right.
And then now it's all about them. It's just like, okay, I don't want that no more. That was just the worst. They still single.
No. If they've been married before, then that becomes a single wife or a single husband.
Okay.
And you'll notice when you're around a single wife or a single husband, ideally, they will get into the mode of that's who they are. You know, the idea of being single goes away because you automatically start doing wife things. You know, you know what a wife should expect, and a husband knows what a wife should expect.
That's right.
And a wife should, you know, it goes back and forth. We have some idea. So if you're getting upset with somebody because they just not getting with the program, they probably never been married before or never been in a long-term committed relationship where they learn from it. Now, people's been married 2 or 3 times, but have you learned from it? And if you learn from it, then you know what to do and what not to do.
Right.
So as a single husband, I know what to automatically do, and I will do it. But it kind of, just like being undumpable, it exposes the people who don't. You can't be mad at them, but they always say meet people where they at, right? Well, sometimes you got to leave them right where you found them because they may not fulfill what you need. So you get to the point where you've been married and all that. Relationships become an option. We don't have to make kids.
Oh, he is deep today. Keep going.
We don't have to make any kids. We don't have to pull out resources to have a home. What else we don't do? You know what else we don't do? We don't have to go through nothing.
No.
You know, the arguments or the misunderstandings are an option. The consideration is an option. So you either say, I'm going to put forth the effort, or I'm just going to leave it alone. I love me. And undumpable. If you love you first, you can tell who don't love you when they show up. You can tell who's going to use you when they show up because you are doing for you. If you don't do that, you're entering into a mess already. And how I wrote this stuff is just so simple. Simple. And if we keep making it harder than what it is, then we're going to be upset. Because why? Because this is what we teach. And when you embellish things to our kids, they kind of take the shiny parts instead of just the nucleus of the message you're trying to give them. Hey, let's go. You want to take a little peek?
Sure. Of course.
Let's go.
Let's give a peek.
Let's go to flags and whistles. I like that.
Flags and whistles, everybody. Flags and whistles.
Let me see. Flags and whistles. One of my favorite. Let's see if I can get it right there.
Flags and whistles. Flags and whistles.
What are flags? Flags are a sign that a potential mate has shown you that may not be good in your relationship. To keep this simple, we will say there are 2 types of colored flags that we will deal with when it comes to evaluating love potential interest. If you have a yellow flag, it consists of things that can be worked out with minor adjustments to improve themselves or their situations to be a good mate. Examples of a yellow flag: slight issues with finances, temporary housing situation, being in between job when you're fully employable, going through a divorce, waiting for the end, and children, whether they're with you or not, or the process of going through things with your children, and not ready for commitment. Let's take a look what makes a yellow flag. Having your finances in order is really important in your life. When it comes to accepting someone else in your life for a long-term relationship, you must be sure their finances are not a burden to your long-term relationship or financial goals. A person that has blemishes on their credit is not a bad candidate. It is what they're doing about the financial issues that makes a difference.
Agreed.
A person could be taking a course on getting out of debt, sending letters to debtors, or setting up a realistic budget. That's a yellow flag. If a person shares they are having financial hardships from the beginning, and they may not attempted to resolve their issues, then you must make a judgment call whether to leave them where they are or to help. This is why I said this type of situation is a yellow flag. When a person shares something that can be fixed by way of education or motivation, it doesn't mean you cannot move forward with them, but definitely proceed with caution. However, if they refuse help or have not moved in a direction to resolve the issue in a reasonable amount of time, then in Houston we have a problem.
Yeah.
And we must raise the red flag.
But you know what we do these days? We don't even pay attention to those flags.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said why we go past the red flags? I even wrote that. I'm not going to share everything.
Yeah, don't tell the book. I want to get that thing.
Yeah, but yes.
That's what we do.
Absolutely, because we are relationship thirsty. That's why we go past the red. I'm just say that in a nutshell. Relationship. Right.
Relationship thirsty.
Relationship thirsty is because we go back to the missing pieces. Go back to not having love. Go back to not being loved. Going back to being destroyed. And the pieces trying to get them back together. Those are people who are out there looking for somebody. And so we become thirsty. You know, and in that thirst, we make decisions. Can I deal with this or can I not? Or can I love this person beyond the issues that they brought? We have enough data to say, we have enough data to say that, no, we can't, and we shouldn't. And they shouldn't get a pass.
Right.
They shouldn't get a pass.
But we ignore
even if they come and tell you in the beginning, because you accept that. But we know long term, some of the things we're forced to accept turn against us.
That's right.
And then they mad at you because you know you accepted my flags. Now you want to act funny.
Now you want to act like there's a problem.
Absolutely. And if we can and that's why you want to be like that. People think when I say be undumpable, I'm talking about being perfect. No, I'm talking about being self-sustained and loving yourself so you expose those who can't give you what you give yourself. And that's that love that's what? Unconditional?
Unconditional.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot more.
Absolutely. I don't believe in unconditional love. I think it's only between a mother and a child and a father and a child. I don't think relationships to and fro, because if that's the case, we wouldn't be going through so many divorces.
That is so true.
We might want it, realistically.
But it wouldn't happen.
No.
Because that's where unconditional love plays a part. It plays a major role.
Absolutely.
It plays a role, a big role. This is deep. I'm getting my praise on in here, y'all. It's where we voice the gospel. I love it. What I find amazing about Mr. Posey is that you wrote 11 books in 8 months?
Yeah. I wrote 5, and 5 from October to December I had written 5. So I kind of paced myself after that. So when you have PTSD, there's a couple of things happen to you. You're irritable and you strike out. Insomnia, nightmares, sweats. My biggest thing was insomnia. I wasn't sleeping, and I wouldn't sleep for nights. And I have sleep apnea also. So I can end up waking up in the middle of the night. If I do get close to it, I can wake up in the middle of the night, and then the cycle just keep going and going. So I took advantage of my spiral, and I was like, well, since I'm up, I'm going to do these things.
Right.
And then from where I feel where my life is going, I had to get ready at this level to have not only one book, everything I could possibly say just came right out. And I think I have at least 2 more books in me, which is important, because the first book is all about me, first half of that book, what I've been through and what families go through. The second half is trying to help people to move beyond that spot. I see a lot of people tell their stories.
But they don't tell what you have to do to get past it.
Right. And they don't give them a call to action.
That's right.
So that's what we need, is for people to, okay, I understand what you're doing. So how did you get beyond it? So when I wrote the book, book number 3 in this one, When You Wake Up, I told them what I did. When I woke up, I realized how important I was to my family. I realized my role. At one point I thought I was at the end of my rope, my cliff. And
everything else, huh?
Right. So my daughter says to me one night, and this is why I thought it was the night. She says, "Dad, why don't you get on Facebook?" I was like, "For what?" She says, "Well, all the kids on Facebook." And so I made it through that night, and I got up the next morning, and I got on Facebook, and I sent requests to my kids who are on Facebook. And they accepted me. And then I read what's on their pages, and I started typing messages to them, CALLME, CALLME, CALLME.
Okay.
Call me. Why would you even post that picture? What is that? That ain't even a full word. Who do you think you are? They blocked me, of course. But it came down to this. They needed me to do what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be dad. There's no way in the world that I'm supposed to be hiding in the house. There's no way in the world that I should be selfishly thinking about myself and forgetting my role in their life. My role is to remind them we got to keep going forward.
That's right.
And we can't go to the left. We can't live to the right. We have to go forward. The only way you're going to do that is do your role. And now if you can't do your role, which I wrote in the book, then you got to fake it till you make it. You got to talk to those other dads. You got to talk to those other moms. You got to talk to somebody and not wing it.
Right.
Because your tomorrow is looking at you.
That's right. That's
and
right.
they model what you do.
Yeah.
So if you model success and you model peace, they've got it. They may lose sight of it for a minute, but they got something to fall back on.
That's right.
In the second book, Unloved, they don't have anything. When I was working at the Homeless Veterans Program and I would have to go out to low-income housing, Section 8 and things like that to house the veterans, I saw those kids. I saw the looks in their faces. I saw what they were going through, and I didn't even have to engage them into that negative conversation about why you need to pull up your pants and things like that.
Right.
I saw their pain. I saw that they felt unloved. And that's who we are dealing with out in the streets right now. I could talk forever.
You sure can. You sure can. That's all right, though. That's all right. Wow, he has dropped some amazing nuggets today. Some amazing nuggets. I want to encourage all of the listeners and viewers to check Mr. Posey out. He's dropped some real good stuff. Some stuff we need to. I think everybody needs to implement into their lives.
Absolutely.
You know, tell everyone how they can get in touch. You know.
Well, of course, you can find me on Facebook. I have a decent Facebook presence. You can find me on Instagram, neg_2_POS. That's negative to positive. People look up if you look up N2P, you'll find me also. I'm on Twitter. I think President Trump kind of ruined Twitter for me. So I really am on Twitter, but you can find me on Instagram, and you can definitely find me on Facebook. But you can also find me on my website, N2PGA.org.
N2PGA.org.
Yeah, that's correct. You can actually book me. Okay. I recommend book me, have me come out and speak. I have a 2.5-hour seminar. I have an hour seminar. I will come where I can, and I'm not limited to Georgia. Okay. So if you have listeners that want me to come across the nation, I will. I will, because I've been hit with this message. And the message does not belong to me. It belongs to everybody. It's not to the left. It's not to the right. It's right up the middle.
What has happened is you've actually tapped into your purpose.
Absolutely.
You've tapped into your purpose.
Ooh, I hate when people say that. I'm gonna tell you why I hate that, because
I'm gonna hear that because
purpose requires change.
Ooh.
And purpose also requires going through some things. So people says, you're in your purpose. And I didn't apply for this job. I didn't submit an application. I did not show my resume. I did not even stand in line. But when it hit me, I said that I'm gonna make it look easy. I'm gonna make this look easy, regardless what I feel when I'm sitting at home, when I'm talking to strangers. It's for all of us to get to the next level, and someone has to tell them this is a part of the way. We have our historians out there. I don't knock them. People who want to tell us all the way back just before Jesus was born and things like that, and they tell us about being kings and things like. I get it. That's their position. That's their lane. That's not my lane.
That's not mine.
That's not my lane. My lane is to give you the bare parts of how we get it together. And the only way you're gonna get it together is we get family together, families get communities together, and then now we'll get our culture together. You can't get no simpler than that.
That's right.
You know. Now people will say it's easier said than done. I get it, because it only took what 4 or 5 seconds to say that.
Right.
Absolutely. It took generations to make this mess. Generations.
I agree.
And I would hope by the time my grandsons are at this age, 50, they'll say, my granddaddy said this. My granddaddy said this and that and this and this and this and this. And these things all came true because he said, we can do this.
Right.
And when we sit around, I was on Facebook the other day, someone asked, can our black culture here in the U.S. get peace? Some said no. And I said, you ain't even tried.
That's right. I agree, because I don't believe that.
You don't believe it?
I believe that we can.
I believe we can, because we have to start with that unity between moms and dads and kids. And
Relationships.
Absolutely. There you go.
Relationships.
Right.
That's the
Right. I mean,
be all, do all, starts all.
right. If you really want to change, you make a lawmaker, not a lawbreaker.
That's right.
When you start making them, then we can start changing
That's right.
on the bigger level.
That's right.
But from the core, it's a mess. It really is.
Well, what I want you to do right now, though, is I want you to tell everyone what N2P. Let's talk about that. Tell me a little bit about that organization.
How did that? You want to know how it came about, or what am I doing?
Will, you can tell us what are you doing and how it came about.
Okay, let's talk about purpose.
Okay.
Purpose don't come in a day. It don't come in a day. When I retired from the Marines, I bought this fancy sports car. And I says I wanted something cool on the license plate. And so I put NEG2POS on the license plate. Negative to positive. And that's how I saw my life going from that time. I had already retired, and I'm putting pieces together. So it was negative to positive. So I put that on there. So then probably about 2012, I was working with a guy who made T-shirts. I was like, you know what? It'd be cool to put that on a T-shirt, right? So I put it on a T-shirt. Now, had no following. I had nothing.
Wasn't trying to do anything.
Wasn't trying to do anything.
Just
but I got a stack of T-shirts.
Cool.
Right.
A cool tie man.
Right. I got a stack of T-shirts talking about this is how my life going. So then I go to college, right? I went to Phoenix, and I was working on IT. Well, I changed from IT, didn't want that. Went to HR, didn't want that. So I hit business management. So in business management, there's like, shout out to Team B from Phoenix. It had to do a plan, and I had to do a SWOT, and I had to do the business plan, and I had to come up with a name. Hence, I took the name to that, and I says, you know what? Even though I was living in the house by myself, I said I still got some things for kids. I still have some dad stuff that I can hand out. So I said I'll do a mentoring program. So I did the mentoring program in the planning. Right? It's totally generic, but then after that, I want to give a shout out to my mentor, Melvin Morris. He heard about me volunteering to help kids to teach them how to play racquetball. And he says, you know, why don't you go ahead and get you a 501c3 and you start your own mentoring company, just like you said you're just going to do. That we did that in one meeting. He told me that, and I did it. So I say all that to say this. These are breadcrumbs out there in your world. And subconsciously, I was putting it all together. So here we are in 2017. And that was in 2015 when we met. And then I kept working at the VA, and I kept doing the things that I needed to do to set up the 501c3. When I decided to quit my job, I had to resign. The letter for the 501c3 came in the mail. Same week. I had made my decision, and then
had already made your decision.
You
didn't wait.
Right. So
once you said it, the universe just put.
Absolutely. So
I just made it happen.
I remember talking to Les Brown about 4 years ago. I called him on the phone. I blessed to get him on the phone. I think he was on the phone. And he says, well, you want to be a speaker? Because I wanted to be a speaker too. He said, but you got to have a book. bam, look at that. So everything is coming together. So now we're into, I'll be working with my first group of young men, September, I think we're going to start around the 12th. September 12th in McDonough, and I call it YEP, Youth Enrichment Program.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about things that they should have from dads. We're literally going to give them some classes, some things like that, and give them access to ask me and another dad all the questions they could possibly ask us. Because just like I wrote in my book, Mr. Johnson, my neighbor, my grandfather, he just answered those questions, and Mr. Johnson's still alive. He just answered those questions for me, which made an impact in my life. And then I wrote the book. I gave him a copy of the book, and he called me. He said, he cried, I cried, we cried. He said, I never thought anybody would write a book, about me in a book. And I says, why is that, Mr. Johnson? He says, well, because I only wanted to do the best I could for you guys, right? And I said, mission accomplished, Mr. Johnson. Mission accomplished. So his selflessness to communicate with me and answer my questions, I'm 50 now, and he's 85 now. Same thing when these kids get to talk to real dads or even fallen dads, because somebody's failure is somebody's lesson.
That's right.
And then you can generate a rule from that.
That's right.
But they need to talk to somebody, and somebody need to answer their questions. So that's going to start September 12th, and we're going to run it as long as we can. And I've been putting myself out to be a speaker, and I'll show up anywhere, because I thought no one wanted to hear what I had to say. The fear of success.
It doesn't matter though. Yeah,
Right.
I was going to say,
Fear
that
of
is the fear of
success.
success.
Let me tell you about
It
that.
doesn't matter. You have to stay. There's someone waiting
Absolutely.
to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely. But and when you think about yourself, you're like, don't nobody want to hear it. So when it came down to writing that first check for the nonprofit, I scratched my head and I was like, well, nobody want to hear what I say. I got to say, and look what I've done. Look at all these mistakes I've made.
Right.
And man, I let that happen for about 6 minutes. 6 minutes, and I was like, write that check. Because it wasn't about me.
That's right.
And I'll be taken care of as I move forward, because this is what we call purpose. If God told me this is what I'm going to do, according to what everybody always say, once you walk in purpose, everything come to you. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Once you walk in purpose, everything comes to you.
Y'all hear that?
The more I try to direct this, the more it fails. The more I sit back and I wait for the people that are supposed to come and just lay it out, man.
It just happens just like
What?
that.
Yes, my tenacity is turned into peace and patience.
Oh, this has been so heavenly today. Heavenly. So that's how it came about.
Absolutely.
Purpose is how it came about.
Absolutely.
And you're working with it here in Atlanta. And how can someone get involved? You have a website for that?
Yes. I haven't started taking, to get involved is to contact me.
Okay.
And then have me meet with you. Don't phone me. Phone me to meet with me. Okay. You want to meet with me.
I know, right?
Yeah, I need to feel your spirit.
Yeah.
I need to feel your spirit.
It. I'm with you on that.
Phone me to meet with me. You can reach me at my website, n2pga.org, or you can reach me at 770-316-4319.
All right.
Call me and we'll set up an appointment sometime.
That's what we got. I saved the best for last though. So we've been talking with the author, Mr. Paul Posey, and he's talked about 2 books that he's written, and he's also talked about his organization he has, mentoring, and he's just so amazing. He's dropped some amazing nuggets. You've helped me. That's why I'm sitting here like, oh God, I thought I had it together. But yeah, so you have helped me. He's dropped some amazing nuggets, but I saved the best for last. AIB. I love AIB. I love AIB and Miss Desiree Lee and the things that she's doing for authors in business right now and new authors. How did you get involved with AIB?
Oh, well, somebody in AIB, right when I was getting started, says, hey, you might want to check these people out because they are making it happen.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I joined AIB, and I was like, man, I have to try to keep up.
Yeah.
Because so much great information comes from the videos and being connected with AIB. Desiree is
amazing. Shout out Desiree. I know you're watching.
And you will watch her for months. And the true blessing is to be in her presence and to meet her daughter.
Yeah,
you know, because your greatest report card comes from your seed.
That's right.
That's why it's your seed, and she's that awesome.
Yes.
So they learn new things to put in place for you to be successful. If you're in AIB and you're not successful, it's because you don't want to be.
That's because you don't want to be. I can attest to that. I can attest to that.
So now, but you have to have time.
Yes.
So now I get to focus on more marketing of my material than just writing, because I was all about writing, and AIB just kept moving along, and it's greater than it was when I joined. I joined back, I want to say November.
It's grown so much,
absolutely.
so fast.
So we just did Nashville.
Yes.
And it was great. Our keynote speaker, I can't pronounce her name, from the.
I can't pronounce it. I know who you're talking about.
She's a wonderful speaker. She brought some things to the table that made me think about, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing moving forward? So now we're going to be in August 19th. There's the Atlanta.
I can't wait.
I'll be there.
And I was going to ask, have you been on tour? So you were in Nashville and you've been to some other places as well?
The experience is better than watching it live because the conversations, and then the conversations of the people that are sitting there, you actually have a conversation.
Yes.
And when they're asking you author stuff, you know, and then you find out you're helping other authors.
That's right.
And so the good thing about it is you can throw something out there on the page you don't understand. If she's not available, the other authors will chime in. And if they're in the area, we just had a family, they had just moved to Nashville. They were in Cincinnati, just moved to Nashville and came out to the event. And they're part of AIB. They just showed up. So if you're in the area of any AIB event, show up. We need your love. We need your love.
And the experience is amazing.
Absolutely. So you want to meet me, come to the event on August 19th at the Microsoft store in Lenox Mall. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be around 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right? So come down, meet the authors.
I'll have more information by then.
Absolutely.
But yes, that's correct.
Absolutely.
Please meet Mr. Posey and all the other authors that we've highlighted this month. Oh my gosh, this has been amazing. I'm still in the ambience of earlier, the nuggets that you dropped. I'm like, okay, I need to do this. Yes.
Read the book. Read the book. And then, you know what? After you read the book, invite me back.
Okay,
right?
I can do that.
Absolutely.
That's going to be an amazing show there.
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
I can do that. So I saved the best for last because I have to give AIB their big shout out.
Absolutely.
She's doing really good, amazing things, helping authors in business around the globe. It's been a treat, though, to have you on today. I've learned so much about you in just a short period of time. I am, too. I am so glad you came out, and I can't wait to dive into your books. And the nuggets that I want to leave with from Candid Conversation today is some of the things that he touched on about being undumpable. And you know, we always talk about relationships on this show. We always talk about fixing, healing, touching, reaching out, you know, stepping outside of yourself, self-love, selfless love, you know, all of those things. Get the book and be undumpable. That's what I want to say. Be undumpable. This seems like, he says here, love is not your problem. Everything else is.
Absolutely. We can love all day.
All day long.
We just tend to love the wrong people.
Wrong people, wrong things, and wrong stuff.
Absolutely.
Yes, all the wrong things.
A little logic before your love. That's what I call it. A little logic before your love makes a difference.
I like that. So get the book. Check it out. Be Undumpable. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can also, Amazon.com. And then we have N2PGrow.com.
Org.
N2PGA.org. N2PGA.org. So check him out. And I am going to definitely have him back after I read Be Undumpable all the way through. I'm excited. Relationship IQ flags. I can't wait. I can't wait. But I want to say it's been an honor. I appreciate you here. I'm looking forward to the next time. If you guys, he's already giving you information. If you want to reach him, get in touch with him. Listen, I'm going to be looking for you guys at the Microsoft show at Lenox Mall on the 19th. So make sure you be there. Be there or be square.
That's right. Take pictures with your authors.
Yes, take pictures with them. Go out and support them. Show your faces. And for those of you who are wanting to become authors, you know how to find me. You know how to get in touch with me. That's StacyBryant.com. You can find me on Facebook. I can get you hooked right on up there. So it looks like that is all we have for today. You want to leave with some final words?
Everyone's got a story, and we're all interlinked somehow. My answers are in you. Your answers are in me. We need to do that. If we can do that, then we'll get better. We'll get better. Absolutely.
I like that. We'll get better. We'll get better. Okay, well, that's all I have for today. I'll see you next week when I highlight the next authors from AIB. I appreciate you tuning in. This is Candid Conversation with Coach Stacy when we're on 108 Praise, where we voice the gospel. And I will see you guys next week. Y'all take care.
Peace.